You're scrolling, drifting through the endless static of the algorithm, waiting for the signal to cut through the noise. Consider, if you will, that you just found the frequency. You've just stepped off the timeline of the everyday, into the space where the forgotten history and the hidden truths finally touch down. There's the story you know, and then there's the airspace we're about to enter. Check your coordinates, because you're heading towards the landing point.
Welcome back, friends. Today's story. Escaped again? In the smoky, crowded streets of 18th century London, a young boy with a slight frame and a quiet demeanor seemed destined for a very ordinary, respectable life. He was bound as an apprentice to carpentry, and he was remarkably good at it. He possessed a natural genius for understanding the secrets of wood and iron, the precise mechanics of hinges, and the delicate, hidden inner workings of locks. For years, he was a model worker, building the very doors and window frames that kept the city's wealthy secure. But honest wages were meager, and our young carpenter fell in love. Her name was Elizabeth, though the locals called her Edgeworth Bess. Bess had a taste for gin, fine clothes, and late nights, and an apprentice's stipend simply wouldn't pay the tab. So the young man found a new way to employ his intimate knowledge of how things were built. He started taking them apart. The master key. He abandoned his tools for a life of burglary. He was nimble, fearless, and incredibly successful for a time. But as with most thieves, his luck eventually ran out, and he was caught by the authorities. But this is where the young man's true genius shone. You see, putting a master carpenter into a wooden iron cage is a bit like locking a fish in a tank of water. He didn't just escape prison once or twice. He escaped 4 times, and the authorities were baffled. They threw him into supposedly inescapable St. Giles roundhouse. He broke through the timber roof and lowered himself to the street. They put him in a new prison. He filed through his manacles, sawed off the iron window bars, and tied bed sheets together to scale the 22-foot wall, all while pulling his beloved Bess up over the wall with him. The impossible breakout. But his masterpiece was his final escape from the dreaded Newgate prison. The guards, utterly humiliated by this point, chained him to the floor in a maximum security strong room called the Castle. They thought he was secure. They were wrong. Using a crooked iron nail he found on the floor, he picked the padlock on his heavy chains. He broke through the stone ceiling, traversing the dark bowels of the prison in the dead of night, and managed to force open 6 heavy iron barrel doors from the inside. He climbed to the prison roof, returned to his cell to grab his blanket, and lowered himself into the streets of London. The city was absolutely captivated. He wasn't a violent man. He was a ghost. A cheeky illusionist who made a mockery of the corrupt justice system and the notorious crime boss, Jonathan Wild. Almost overnight, he became a working-class hero. Plays were written about him and performed in the theater while he was still on the run. The final bow. The law finally caught up with him. Not because they outsmarted him. They found him in a tavern, blind drunk, wearing a stolen, flamboyant suit and celebrating his own cleverness. At just 22 years of age, he was sentenced to hang at Tyburn. But his execution wasn't a somber affair, it was a festival. It is estimated that a third of London's entire population, over 200,000, turned out to see him. They didn't come to jeer. They came to cheer for the boy who simply could not be caged. For centuries, his name has been synonymous with daring breakouts, inspiring characters in literature and theater, including Macbeth in the Beggar's Opera. He was the undisputed master of the impossible escape, nearly 200 years before the man named Houdini was ever born. He is Jack Shepherd, and whether you realize it or not, this is The Landing Point.
Viewers, thank you for watching today, The Landing Point. We really appreciate it. I'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Roadrunner Real Estate. They are a full-service real estate company doing both commercial and residential real estate. They can help you buy, sell, or even lease your properties. So if you're in the market looking for a real estate company, please go out and give them a call. They'll happily help you today. The next thing I'd like to talk about is our social media. Obviously, we have YouTube if you're watching that today. If you haven't done so already, please go out and subscribe. It is completely free to you. There's nothing that you'll be charged or your membership fees, but it does help us out so we can get our latest episodes to you quickly, and you can find out what's going on with YouTube. Our other place that we do a lot of our social media is on our Facebook page, The Landing Point. So please go out and like and subscribe or follow those, I guess I would say, so you get the latest updates. If you're a person that likes to listen to stories as you're out on the drive, we have our podcast. You can find The Landing Point out there, and it can be on most services. So once again, thank you for watching The Landing Point, and we look forward to see you on our next story.